Hi there, welcome to Caroline Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Libra energy, and like usual, we're going to do 2 rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Libra energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy, because we've all got our free will nature and we have to make decisions in our life. And the top row can kind of represent either what we are doing in our life or some of the things we'd maybe like to do. Looking at life maybe from a higher perspective. We start out with 2 Aquarius cards, and maybe the 7 of Swords can be where maybe we get more caught up in our head instead of listening to our intuition. And when we kind of get caught up in our head, it can be our fears or insecurities or self-limiting beliefs or a whole bunch of things, right? And instead, to look at life from a higher perspective, which can be in high vibe Aquarius, um, you know, just keeping focused on the big picture. You're probably going to live 80 years. Do all the things that you want to have come into reality need to happen today, this month, this year? No, takes work and effort to reap a good harvest. And so stay focused on the big picture. And in high vibe, it would be stay focused on truth and love and hope and faith and compassion and forgiveness. And so, but we can all want to do that, but the bottom row can kind of represent our fears and our insecurities, or past pain and heartbreak, or getting caught up in our head and kind of indulging our more immature nature or immature people. It'll all kind of come out in the reading, so you'll get a better idea. And then too, Libra energy is represented by the scales of justice. And everybody views life differently. Not everybody has the same idea of what they think is just and fair. And Aquarius energy can kind of represent our idea of the dream life and what our hopes and dreams are. And we know all these other people in the world, and their hopes and dreams can be a lot different than ours. So, we're kind of trying to find people who are just kind of on the same page as we are, kind of have some similar perspectives about life. If you're not someone who gets all caught up in your head, you'd probably kind of like to be in a relationship with other people who don't get all caught up in their head. And if you're someone who does let love and intuition guide you more than like your fear or your ego, you'd probably like to be in relationships with other people who do that. Not everybody does. The bottom row can represent other people in the world who are in more shadowy energy. Everybody's at different emotional maturity levels. Some people are bossy and controlling and prideful and egotistical and self-centered. And of course, they think that's just and fair in their own Libra energy. So, just to listen to your intuition. Are people kind of motivated and inspired? High vibe would be to, next we have the Leo strength card, tempering your ego, tempering your fears, being inspired to get out of your ego. And some people are defensive, some people are egotistical in whatever way, and they have no interest in getting out of their ego. And the truth sets us free. We need to get out of our ego about the fact that everybody else has free will to live their life whatever way they want. And at the end of the story in the top row, we have the 5 of Wands, which is leaving behind, or we have the 6 of Wands, which also, like the Strength card, is Leo energy. The 6 of Wands leaves behind the 5 of Wands. And the 5s can talk about change. I can love other people. I could want to be in a more involved friendship relationship. I could want a certain job. I could want other people to heal and grow and mature themselves. They have free will. All I can do is wish people peace and love and encouragement, and then I go on my way. And I let them make their free will decisions to live their life the way they want, and I get out of my ego about it. If they're living their way and making decisions in their life, that's not my truth, that's not how I want to move forward, then I get out of my ego about the fact that we're not on the same page, and I wish them peace and I move on. To go find people who are kind of more on the same page as me. We all can have known people in our life that maybe were more hurtful or unkind or dealing with issues or something, right? That kind of the relationship wasn't working out. And then at some future point in time, some of those people can work through some of their issues, just like we have done that at times, right? And then we do look at life differently, and some of those people in our life could end up at some future date looking at life differently. But maybe by the time people learn some lessons in life and have worked through maybe some of their mental conflict or that made them live their life the way they lived it, that didn't wasn't conducive to the relationship moving forward. Sometimes by the time some people do kind of look at life differently, you know, the truth is sometimes other people have moved on. And some of you might have some people that, because again, we have free will in our life, and at different times in our life, we invested and chose to invest more in these people, got in friendships with different people, invested in that relationship, dated people, maybe married people, and we didn't choose other people. And the whole point is that, we have to trust and believe it was part of our journey, and God really knows who really is more on the same page as us, who isn't. Sometimes some people are a good example in our life, and uh, you know, those are people that we can look up to and admire, even if we don't know them. Gee, I see these people really being kind of tempering their ego, and the chariot can be that they're seem to be more emotionally balanced from a place of love, because the chariot's Cancer energy, and they seem to be inspired to keep overcoming whatever comes their way, to keep moving forward in hope and faith and belief and love. I want to be that kind of person. And so some of those people might already be in other friendships or relationships, and that's who they're going to focus their time and energy and effort into. But that doesn't mean my dreams can't come into reality, maybe not with them, but at least now I've kind of been enlightened to the truth, and I'm working through kind of not harnessing this energy in a more shadowy way, which could kind of tempt me to not move forward. And high vibe Leo is being more authentically yourself, being kind of inspired to keep moving forward. And high vibe energy is about learning lessons. When we don't want to learn lessons, we kind of get stuck in our pride and ego. And so realizing if I want to move forward in life differently, which I could have already gotten out of some situations because there was something about that my intuition told me, um, in that Seven of Swords, that some of the people or the way I was living my life or where I worked at, whatever it was, they kind of had a different dream than I did. Kind of, again, how they look at life, what drives and motivates them, what they think is just and fair. And sometimes when I had some lessons to learn, at the reason for the bottom rose reading is the Knight of Pentacles and Virgo energy, which can be about learning lessons that, I'm on my own journey. I had my own things that kind of manipulated me. Other people have their own fears, insecurities, less greed, pride, ego, immaturity, whatever it is. And I had mine, and I had my lessons to learn. And I think we are kind of drawn and attracted to certain people because those are the people that can maybe help us see some truth that we needed to work through to free ourselves from continuing to repeat a certain pattern. And we'll all repeat certain patterns in our life, or just kind of like these stages of life that we go through. And they were the person, we could have helped them kind of get more clear about their truth of how they wanted to move forward in life, high vibe or low vibe. Everybody should live their truth, not create an illusion, right? And it could have helped us get more clear about what our truth was. And so we worked through the mental confusion that I come in contact with all these different people in the world. And part of the purpose of kind of coming in contact with all these different people is to help me get more clear about what my truth is and for them to get more clear about what their truth is. And maybe from that life experience, we do kind of look at life a little differently than we did before. But sometimes we're not, again, relationships, just like being 18 or 21 or 25, sometimes relationships have a certain phase of life that we did come into each other's life, maybe to even be kind of loving and encouraging people to each other. But then, kind of once we maybe get a little bit back up on our feet again, feeling a little more stable and grounded within ourselves, the way we want to move forward in life is differently. And that can be difficult. But, you know, we have to respect that everybody is their own individual. They have their own dreams, their own aspirations, their own goals in life, and who they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into. And we have ours. But if we did learn something about that caused us mental conflict, maybe their truth was different than our truth. So, anyway, we have to work through this card so that we realize something about how we harness that energy could have been what kind of made us be drawn and attracted to living our life that way, or certain type of people. And if we don't want to repeat that, we have to quit harnessing this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way and start harnessing it in a more high vibrational way. And that also is what helps us kind of let go of the people in our life that to some degree we could have harnessed the energy differently, but there could have been some commonality about it that kind of drew us together. And they might want to keep moving forward in that more worldly, shadowy way of harnessing it. And if I don't want to get caught up in that again, I need to work through that. And then I'm also willing to kind of let go of those people in my life. What is the card? The Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords is Gemini energy, which is about our free will of trying to figure out what our truth is and our truth isn't. You know, and the bottom row can just mean that we were kind of more caught up and motivated and inspired to make our life more about these things of the world. All these things we want to go indulge in or manifest, or all these things that we think will make us happy. And then we could have went and indulged in those things and invested in those things and worked to manifest those things. And then we could have kind of realized, oh, that's not the end all be all. That alone isn't it. There's more. Or this was a stage of life I went through, but, well, that's not, it's not like I wanted to stay 18 forever or 23 forever or 25 forever. It's about continuing to keep moving forward and continue to keep learning lessons. And sometimes we get in friendships and relationships with people and they're like, no, I'm good. Let's just keep doing this. And it can kind of feel like the bottom row can kind of represent that it kind of gets to be where it feels a little dead and stagnant. Like, you're not learning anything new. I've kind of learned everything I needed to learn there, just like we did 18 to 21 to 25. I'm kind of ready to we kind of look at the things we want to take with us, like what are the good building blocks that keep being beneficial to moving forward in life and loving myself, maintaining balance within myself and moving forward, being kind of inspired to live my more authentic life and kind of be more high vibe Leo, more bold and brave and confident, and just keep being more comfortable in my own skin from love to become more authentically myself. And shadowy energy can be we want to distance ourselves more and more from how things used to manipulate us. We look back when we were younger and all the things that used to manipulate us and to what degree they could. Well, hopefully as we go through life, those things don't manipulate us to the same degree that they used to, because we've kind of learned to love ourselves and believe in ourselves. And, but some people, they keep carrying all those things with them and they never maybe work through them. And so the thing is, with the Knight of Swords of Gemini energy, which in high vibe is love, in my free will, I have the choice to keep loving and believing in myself, keep kind of in the Knight of Swords standing up for myself and my truth, and the King and Queen of Swords send the Knight of Swords. And the King and Queen of Swords can be kind of, I view the Queen of Swords as Aquarius and the King of Swords as Libra. I have my dreams and aspirations and kind of things that I think are just and fair. Other people have their truth and how they want to move forward. And I do want to keep challenging myself to face my fears and to work through things that manipulate me and love myself and maintain balance within myself. And shadowy energy can be that we kind of get tipped out of balance because of these things that we make more important in our life, or all these things that kind of can manipulate us. And it's like, periodically, I like to look at the things, we don't maybe do it every day, but, things can accumulate over time. And then it's kind of like, well, why do I keep letting that bug me? Or why do I feel this way? And whatever it is could keep me moving forward, not dealing with it. I could invest my time, energy, and effort in not dealing with it. Well, that's a choice. Shadowy energy can be, I don't want to look at the truth. I don't want to deal with the truth. I don't want to deal with the truth. I don't want to heal or grow or mature myself. I don't. Virgo energy, earth sign energy can mean we'd have to invest time, energy, and effort internally to work through those things. And some people are like, nope, I don't want to do it. I don't have to. You're right, you don't. But if you never deal with those issues, you're kind of continuing to drag them with you, and then it affects how you live your life and how you feel and the decisions you make in your life. And some people are like, I don't want to keep dragging that shit with me. And I am going to look at the truth of it. I'm going to temper my ego to deal with maybe these situations in my past where maybe I felt people were deceptive or manipulative. Okay. That I dealt with other people, maybe who were bossy or controlling or prideful or egotistical or more materialistic or more immature. Okay. High vibe Leo is like shedding light on the truth, and that's also high vibe Virgo. And high vibe people were willing to look at those things. It's just like kind of bringing them out into the light. That hurt me. That made me feel bad. I thought that was, and kind of go through the feelings of it. It made me angry. It made me mad. It's unjust. It's unfair. But it's also just accepting the truth that we live in a world of duality where people have their more shadowy nature. And some people are going to be in that energy in their free will. That's how they choose to live their life. And other people are more just and fair and tempered and loving and encouraging and are who they say they are. And some people just create an illusion of being that type of person. And then you find out that's not the truth of who they are. That could be the Seven of Swords, kind of being deceptive and manipulative, trying to confuse people about the truth of who they are. And you move forward with them in a relationship thinking a dream is going to come into reality. And then you kind of realize that kind of what drives and motivates them to be in the friendship or the relationship isn't really love. It can be more about being in a relationship to be in a relationship, to indulge himself in a relationship, the ego or the image or the status, or find out they really think it should be more about them. And you have to work through the fact that my truth is different than their truth. And, as time goes by and you're moving forward in your life and other people are moving forward living their life, kind of with some of those people, you see that their truth is different. And Gemini also can be that maybe before we didn't listen to our intuition because we were kind of caught up in the dream, and so we kind of ignored our more creative, inspired, loving nature that said, I don't think this person's aligned with our truth. And we were like, shut up. I'm sure this will work. And that's a lesson to learn in life too, that, we don't, us human beings and our pride and ego and Aquarius energy and Libra energy being air sign energy, we think we're so smart. Well, pride comes before the fall. And our intuition maybe was telling us, I don't think this person, I don't think you're on the same page, or maybe this person, doesn't really seem to be maybe more authentic or warm or loving or balanced or do more authentic equal give and take. But we think we can change people, but of course God and everyone else in the world's been working with them all their life. And if that's not the type of person they are, why are we so defensive to seeing the truth? Partly because if we were to see the truth, we would have to move away from them. And we could be attracted to them. We could love them. We want to be in a relationship. We could have a lot of things in common. We had this dream we wanted to manifest. They seemed like the person we could manifest that dream with. And so that's why we kind of turned our back on listening to our intuition, because we kind of didn't want to see the truth. Well, we'll repeat that over and over and over until we're done thinking we're so smart. I mean, it's one thing to take the lessons that we've learned from life experience. That's good to take with us and to use common sense. But I think our intuition was given to us as a gift because of the fact that people can wear false masks in the world and people can kind of hide the truth of who they really are. And people can present themselves as these just and fair and stable and balanced and loving people, that I look at life from a higher perspective. I'm not more about myself. I'm not more about the ego and the image of it. I don't think it should be more about me. But yet they do, But you don't find that out till later, that they really do think it. Because that down here in the bottom row, we have the Six of Pentacles. And that can represent a more shadowy relationship. A shadowy Taurus relationship and a shadowy Libra. We also have the Empress, which is Libra and Taurus energy, versus a more high vibrational Libra-Taurus relationship. And Taurus can talk about our philosophy of life. And some people do view relationships as more transactional. But love is supposed to be just and fair. And high vibe Virgo is kind of respecting each other as their own individuals, and that you have your own truth, you have your own dreams and aspirations, you have your own unique talent, skills, and interests, and you as your own individual have your own dreams and aspirations and your ideas of things that drive and motivate you and that inspire you and that you love and that you think is just and fair. But some people kind of think, well, but if I seem to have more of these things that I think are more valuable that I bring to the relationship, whatever people value, then I think it should be a little bit more about me. And that's shadowy Libra-Taurus energy that people can harness, anyone. I kind of think I should be kind of the indulged person emotionally. The feminine figures talk about how we think and feel. The masculine energies can represent how we present ourselves in the world. I'm this stable, balanced person who's learned these lessons in life. I'm not shadowy. You should move forward with me in a relationship or a friendship or marry me or work here, take this job. And then you go get in it And as you're trying to move it forward and you're harnessing like high vibe, Libra, Taurus, Virgo, Aquarius, Cancer, you eventually start to realize that they kind of harness a more worldly Libra, Taurus, fire sign energy. That they're maybe either just more caught up in being in the relationship for these reasons of the world, or about it being more about them and not really motivated and inspired by the truth, that it should be driven and motivated by love. And love is supposed to be just and fair, where, we're both all working for that common goal, and everyone should put aside their pride and ego to work together cooperatively for that common goal, and we should respect each other as their own individual. And some people are like, well, you might think that, but I kind of think it's a little bit more about me, and the other people should put aside their pride and ego. And I'm kind of the most important person because of whatever it is they think they bring. If they, we've all known all sorts of people from the time we were young. People could have money, people could have status, people could have social clout. They could be attractive, they could be charming, they could, you know, just whatever people think they have. And we've all, if you've ever known some people where it's like they're really full of themselves, and it's like, I'm not sure what you think you bring to the table, but you really think you got it going on, right? High vibe people bring truth and love. They might be attractive, charming, have social clout, money, status, charming, but the most important thing they offer is being loving and encouraging and authentic. And that's what some shadowy people don't get. I have these things of the world: Taurus energy, Earth sign energy, Virgo energy. I have these things of the world, which could be, again, a lot of things. Well, I had, some people think what they have to offer sex. I had sex with that person. Why are they moving forward with someone else? Maybe I was the one willing to indulge them, male or female. I was always loving and encouraging to them, and I was always trying to be supportive. But did you have an ulterior motive behind it? Was it because of love, or of how you were going to benefit ultimately? Do you get in a relationship and you offer these things of the world, and then you think you should kind of be indulged? Do you try to encourage other people? Oh, you don't, and some people want relationships like that. And some people are moving forward in relationships with people like that. I'll indulge you, or you indulge me. Or let's make our life, shadowy Libra Taurus can be, let's make our life to look like we have this certain status or image in the world, so people view us a certain way, and we look like we have this great life, and we want to make our life more motivated and inspired to be in the relationship and stay in the relationship and make our life more about these things of the world. That's our truth. And other people are like, but is it based on love? The Empress energy is about love, but in shadow it can be, well, I love these things of the world. More so. And that's what motivates and inspires me. Or I want to go indulge in these things of the world to make me feel better, because I haven't seen the truth that love is the answer. And I'm going to go indulge and make my life about all these things, because I'm sure if I indulge in them or I have those things, I'll be happy. Some other people have already done that in their life, and they know those things ultimately are just things. And some of the things they could go indulge in to make their life, make them happy, really throws their whole life into the ditch. And they, because shadowy energy at the big picture represented by the devil gets stranglehold on you, making you think these things are the answer. Make your life about these things, do these things. This is how you should define your worth and value. This is what you should do. This is the answer. Love is the answer. Getting balanced within yourself. Offsetting, that's high vibe Leo. Offsetting your more fearful, insecure, blah, blah, blah nature with offering yourself truth and love. to get balanced within yourself. When we're balanced and not tipped out of balance, that's in high vibe, the chariot talks about moving forward victoriously, and the Six of Wands talks about moving forward victoriously because you tempered your ego. And this, to me, well, it kind of looks, I don't know, is the word androgynous? Male, female, kind of looks pretty female, but the emperor is the one who gets in the chariot. And high vibe energy is being balanced. We have our more worldly, egoic nature, and we have our more emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired nature. To really move forward victoriously, we learn to offer love to our worldly nature, to get balanced within ourselves, to take the masculine side of us can represent how we're taking action in the world, and we take action out of emotionally being a loving and encouraging person to ourselves, to take action in our life, to not be so manipulated by the world and the ego and the fear and other people, and keep things in perspective, love and believe in ourselves, work through our defensiveness, because our own shadow nature doesn't want our more loving nature in the driver's seat. Because we have a dualistic nature, but one is going to be more sitting in the driver's seat, and the other one's kind of going to be sitting in the back seat. So we have to deal with our own shadow nature. And then there's other people in our life who don't want us living our life like that because they wanted us to move forward with them doing life the way they do it, even if that wasn't our truth, even if we weren't able to be more authentically ourselves or be more independent or invest in our own unique dreams or aspirations. No, you should do your life like this. Or you should make your life more about me. Or you should think what I bring to the table is more valuable than what you bring to the table. Maybe stay in more codependent energy. And when we are more, and I think we all go through codependent phases of life, we were all children. And then sometimes we're kind of looking for someone to kind of play the role of a mother or father in our life because we haven't learned to do that within ourselves and give ourselves the things and be loving and encouraging and supportive to ourselves, to take over that role within ourselves. So then we go get in relationships with people who we could view as loving, stable, grounded people. But if we really haven't learned to love ourselves, and you can be a loving person, but you don't get in relationships with other people who treat you the way you treat them, because you're kind of tipped out of balance because you haven't learned to love yourself. And then you kind of get in these more imbalanced, mismatched relationships. And there's other people in the world that are like, I like this. We should do this. You keep viewing me as this loving, stable person, but I don't really want you to. If you work through some of your past pain, heartbreak, fears, insecurities, and get more emotionally balanced within yourself, I'm still tipped out of balance, and this could be my truth of the type of relationship I like. And if you do that work within yourself, the Six of Pentacles can be, I don't want to exchange resources with you anymore. I want to go find someone who's in that energy like you used to be in. Because that's my truth. And that's the kind of relationships I like to be in. So it's the same way when we were more immature or something, whatever it was we were doing in our life at whatever time of our life. Oh, we had people in our life we hung out with it. We're doing those same things. Then if you kind of want to move forward in life a little differently, they're like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you doing that? We're going to go do this. You should go do this. And it's like, I think I'm going to go do this. You want to come with and do that? Because I think loving people love the people they're in relationship with. They just don't maybe want to keep moving forward the way they've been moving forward because they feel, I don't know, it got old. It felt stagnant. Their intuition was telling them, if you want to kind of grow to your full potential, this is not getting you anywhere quick. The Knight of Pentacles is like the slowest moving knight in the deck. And I'm just inspired to move forward and maybe do some other things or try out other things you want to come with. And they're like, well, no, this is what we do. So we're going to go do this. Like, okay. And then some friendships and relationships can part. But the same thing can happen in romantic relationships. Like, well, you're not up in your head. I am still up in my head. When did you get out of your head? I thought you used to have all your fears and insecurities or whatever, and all these things used to manipulate you. I was willing to move forward with you in a relationship being in that energy. And then you did this inner work. The bottom row can represent that people did shadow work. They initially could have ignored, and when they got in some friendships and relationships, they had some lessons to learn about these cards that aren't showing themselves. The Five of Pentacles, which, like the Six of Pentacles, is Taurus energy, but it can talk about kind of feeling left out in the cold, kind of having a lack mentality, because we haven't really learned to love and invest in ourselves and to kind of even appreciate our own unique talents and kind of what we do bring to the table. And if we don't appreciate and know our worth and value, there's other people in the world that are like, hey, come on over and be my friend. Yeah, I'll be in a relationship with you. You don't know your worth and value? Perfect. I love being in relationships with people like you. Oh, and you're like loving and encouraging and supportive and motivated by love? Perfect. But you don't maybe let other people, you're not used to being in relationships with other people who treat you like that, and you're kind of have a pattern of being in relationships where you feel like people don't really treat you in a more authentic, just, fair, balanced, loving way. Great. I want to be the next person to be in a relationship with you like that. And that's the person I'll be. And I'll be that person until you're finally willing to deal with the truth that you are someone who harnesses high vibe Taurus, Libra, Sagittarius, and Virgo energy into a relationship. You're inspired by, you put a lot of work and effort to move things forward in a just and fair and stable and balanced loving way. But it's kind of like either not wanting to see the truth that you get in relationships with people who aren't in that energy. And part of it can be because it's your comfort zone. You're used to being in a relationship with people that are like that. And you're maybe not used to being in a relationship with people who do kind of more treat you like you treat them. And we all kind of like to stay in our comfort zone. But there too, you can get in relationships with people and they're hiding the fact that they have a lack mentality. And you move forward in a relationship and then you kind of realize that they really do kind of lack hope and faith and belief in themselves or appreciating their own worth and value. And just like when we haven't appreciated ourselves, people can offer us love and encouragement and all those things. But until we kind of incorporate that within ourselves, and it's like, you know what? I accept the truth that maybe I do have some worth and value, and maybe I am more worthy of loving myself or something. But we can't make other people do that. But we can get in relationships with people, and then again, we could find that we can harness this energy differently. Or eventually, both the fives can talk about change. And maybe during the course of a relationship, if we're being loving and encouraging and supportive to each other, a lot of people in that type of environment would kind of do some of this inner work to work through some of their mental conflict. And part of it could be because I want this to keep working out. I don't want to repeat some of my own poor past patterns that would maybe make other people have mental conflict about moving forward with me. So I'm going to work through some of my issues, and I am going to put in this work and effort to maybe get more balance within myself and heal and grow and mature myself. And sometimes you can do that again in a relationship, thinking the person, and same thing could happen at a job. Well, I want to keep working here, and I don't want to lose this job, and and it's the same thing that people can do in a relationship. And then you do that work, and then the people you're in relationship with are like, well, now I have mental conflict with you. I don't even want you here anymore. you know, like, because the problem can be, say, if it's at a job and you're putting in this work and effort, well, and same way in a relationship, if you put in work and effort to kind of get to where you would think that they're proud of you, because look, I did this work and I'm more emotionally balanced or stable or less immature than I used to be, and I've tempered some of my fears and my insecurities. At a job, I put work and effort to be more knowledgeable, more abundant. Well, then, in order to kind of keep moving forward, the other people then would maybe have to kind of start doing that too. And some people kind of like to play the role of like, I'm this loving and encouraging person in your life, but I never want you to kind of get on the same page as me because that is how I drive my ego. And I like you kind of being in this energy because then I maybe always do seem like the more stable, grounded, balanced, martyr, or loving person. And maybe like people to be more codependent on them. And then if it's like a job, it's like, shit, this person's going to pass me up. They're on the ball. I need to get rid of them. you know? And the same thing can happen in a relationship. Shit. If I keep moving forward with this person, I might try to present myself as looking like a shining star, like I am someone who's motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness and being more authentically myself and more mature. But that was just kind of an illusion I created. And now I'm in a relationship with someone who really does seem to authentically be inspired to do these things and is kind of looking very victorious and successful. And shadowy energy can be that people are kind of in their ego. And it's like, stop right there before you go any further. That is not how I expected this to go. And that's not how I want it to go. I want it to go like this. We just create the illusion that it's more just and fair and balanced and motivated and inspired to be more authentic. But you need to stop, because if you don't, I'm going to have to start doing some of this work within me, and I don't want to. So basically, if you're not willing to move forward like this, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. And that's when people can feel like some of the people in their life that they had viewed as loving and nurturing and, could have looked up to and admired. And then they kind of see, it's kind of like seeing through the illusion that it is, everybody can be like, I want you to change. And some people like to be in relationships with people like that, and even the loving people in the world. Why do we get in relationships with people where, well, they have to change that. Well, they're kind of immature. Well, they're kind of, this and that and that. It's kind of us kind of being in our ego. Why do we even get in relationships with people? Why don't we deal with the truth? Oh, yep, they're defensive. Yep. No, I'm going to go find some people that aren't defensive. Oh, they're kind of full of themselves or bossy or controlling. Why even get in a relationship with them? Why not go find and move forward in your life to go find people who aren't bossy and controlling? Or the Eight of Wands can be immature. Why get in a relationship with someone who's more immature when they show you they're immature? Well, because we think they'll change. it's a lot of hard work for someone to change. We do what we do for a reason. And some of the people who did do the work to change and temper some of their more immature behavior or poor behaviors, or work through some of their lack mentality and stuff, they know it takes a lot of work. And then that's why some people don't want to do it. And it's like, I'll just keep moving forward the way I'm moving forward. And then some relationships don't work out. And some do. We can have friends and family members that, you know, could still be. Does it mean they're doing everything you're doing? No, but you have your life, I have my life. I'm still loving and encouraging of you. Would I go do that? Or would I be, are you more bold and brave and confident than me? Yeah. Do I love you and wish you the best? Yeah. We can have brothers and sisters and whatever, and we can all do our life differently, but we can wish other people peace and love. Hey, rock on. You do you. Do I want to do that? No. And then we have other people in our life that it's like, that's probably why people come to tarot, is because it's like a good friend or a romantic relationship that, why isn't it working out? And it's like, it could have worked out for a long time. But then one person is kind of ready to move forward a little differently and maybe step out of their comfort zone, maybe become independent of some ways of doing things, or making their life about, or making more important in their life. Maybe even just want high vibe Leo is like a more deep, meaningful relationship. Or maybe, even moving forward to the next level of a relationship. And then some of the people in their life are like, no, we should just keep doing this. And that's when some people are like, you might be happy continuing to always live your life like that or do those things or whatever. But I've maybe been feeling kind of left out in the cold and have some mental conflict because I guess I had a different dream. And that's the high vibe people kind of work through it all. Can everybody be mad? And everybody have mental conflict when those relationships don't keep moving forward? Yeah. But the high vibe people do work through it because they're inspired to offer love to it. And if they do think some people are kind of more, can they be angry that some people could be more about themselves, more materialistic, more transactional, more immature, more egotistical? If that's the case, yeah. But we deal with the truth of accepting the truth. And odds are, you know, if people being loving and encouraging wasn't enough to make them change and work through those issues, then they think they'll be okay without that, as long as they have these other things that they make their life about. Or I just want to be in a relationship. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I don't want to get more balance within myself. I might like to live more from my mind and my heart and be in a relationship, enjoy a relationship. Maybe I don't even want to connect in with my emotional nature that much. I don't think it's necessary. Shadowy energy can be where you use all your resources, your emotions, your sexuality, all those things in a more manipulative way. It's kind of like being a bad parent to yourself, and because you could look at those gifts you were given as like your inner child nature that makes you more than an animal or a computer, but they kind of manipulate their own creative, inspired, loving nature, like, oh no, this is the way we should do it. So they're kind of like a bad mother to themselves and a bad father to themselves. And some people do indulge themselves in that way, and other people are like, that might be how you want to live your life. It's not how I want to live my life. And the people in our life who are working together with us in that way, we're going to keep moving forward. High vibe, Libra, Aquarius, Leo, Cancer, Leo again. Moving forward in truth and love, inspired by truth and love, But the shadowy people in the world are going to try to create the illusion that that is their truth also. But it's really a more transactional relationship for more motivated maybe by how it benefits them. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they might not see coming? The Knight of Cups and the Karma card, which is like the Judgment card. Why? Because of the Knight of Cups. So high vibe people offered love and to kind of love themselves. The Judgment card can be holding themselves and other people accountable. And in high vibe, it's willing to deal with the truth. I can make my life. I can hide my own lack mentality and my own mental conflict is what those two cards can mean. But it can also mean I could live more from my more worldly nature and be in my more defensive nature to love. I could move forward in life like that. I could create an illusion. I could get relationships for all these other reasons. And that's what some people are doing. They're hiding the fact that in their philosophy of life, their truth is that they are more motivated and inspired to live their life from their more worldly nature, which can mean all those different things. I want to be indulged. I'm more about money or status or money materialism. If someone won't indulge me, feeling I have enough of those things that people value, then I'll go indulge someone else in order to have those things. In shadow, the Knight of Pentacles' long-term goal is to be a King of Pentacles, to be viewed a certain way. For some people, I just want to be maybe married. Who wants to get married because maybe they have fear of not being married. Maybe they fear they wouldn't have someone to indulge in a relationship with sexually. Maybe they feel like they wouldn't look as victorious and successful. Again, shadowy energy can be really caught up in how people view you. And they want to be viewed a certain way. Or they want a certain status or image in the world. And I think what they're going to find out is that judgment ultimately is going to go in favor of the people who love and believe in themselves, are loving and encouraging and supportive to others, who are being authentic. Those people, whether they're in relationships or not in relationships, are going to look very attractive in the world because of the fact that they're not going out and indulging in their more immature energy or worldly nature for these ulterior purposes. They really are walking the talk and acting with character and integrity, not indulging their more immature nature, not wanting to be in a relationship with other people who are in their more immature energy. And other people are going to see them as people that they want to be in friendships and relationships with because you're tempered in your ego and you're balanced and you're loving and you're authentic. And other people are like, yeah, I could go get in friendships and relationships with people who are in this more shadowy energy. They look like love. They quack like love. They might look in a lot of ways, but I've gotten to know you and I know you are who you say you are. You're not creating an illusion about the truth of who you are. You really are who you say you are. And right now, there might be some people with that card not showing itself. So far, some people aren't sure if you are who you say you are. And some of those people could be kind of defensive, and as they maybe get to know you, then they'll come to realize, like, oh, you're not full of yourself. Oh, you're not trying to manipulate me. You're not trying to control me. You're not more, I don't know, hurtful or unkind or unjust. You really do want to work together with me cooperatively. And you really are motivated and inspired by love. And then those people kind of see through the illusion and they decide they want to move forward with you in friendship or relationship. Um, so some of you could have had to let go of something that at one time, and some people are doing it right now, that they thought a dream was going to come into reality, but they could have realized that it either wasn't really aligned with their truth, or they kind of realized that some other people weren't maybe in it for the right reasons, and they decided to let go of the illusion, have hope and faith and belief. Maybe could have quit talking to some people because they kind of saw through the illusion, and working through doing this work within themselves to work through it so that when they're ready to move forward, they'll be ready to move forward. And then those people move forward in life and they meet some of the other people who've already worked through it. And just like some of you are going through it, then you'll move forward and you'll meet other people like yourself that have gone through similar things. And it's like shedding an old layer of yourself, of just how you used to live your life or view your life, just like you did when you're 15 and 21 and 25. You kind of shed an old way of viewing life, and some other people in the world still are viewing life that way. It's just different ways of viewing life, levels of enlightenment, uh, of how you view yourself, how you view the world, shedding old layers of your more worldly nature, self nature, whatever, to be more authentically yourself and maybe more confident within yourself. So it's going to help you. The Judgment card talks about closing out a cycle to have this new beginning. You've changed. You're not the same person that you were before. Even if some people wanted to maybe be, we can still be loving and encouraging and supportive to people, but, say some people, and we can hang out a little bit, but if people are like, oh, I remember when we used to hang out and we did this and this, and, I kind of got out of this or whatever, and now, I'm kind of looking to go hang out. It's like, you know, I've just, I guess I maybe don't do some of those things anymore, and I don't hang out at those things or whatever, but this is what I'm doing. And if you think that they seem to, and again, we can all have different levels of relationship with people. We can be getting a little more friendship related with someone at work than we did before. Do I still want to go hang out with you outside of work? Maybe no. With other people, maybe periodically we could go hang out and do something that, maybe we have a common interest. But if I still feel like maybe there's some shadowy things there, it's like not so much. I'm going to spend more of my time, energy, and effort into the people who I really think kind of encourage me, and just more, you're just going to spend more of your time, energy, and effort with the people who really seem to be more motivated and inspired and kind of on the same page as you. There can always be other people who want to invest in it. But if you kind of feel that maybe they're kind of more immature, that they kind of seem to be defensive, then maybe not. What's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming? The Nine of Swords and the Eight of Cups. Why? Because of the Queen of Wands. So, the shadowy people are more aligned with their more egoic nature and living more from their mind and their heart. And, we can do that to make ourselves feel safe and secure. And it can be a way of feeling if it's more about us, that makes us feel safe and secure. Shadowy energy, if we are kind of manipulative and kind of controlling in a relationship, um, it can make us kind of feel balanced within ourselves, because that's what we feel we need to do to feel more in control of things or whatever. But but they still have this idea that they want to keep moving forward the way they're moving forward, because they're pretty sure that's going to make them happy. Whatever it is that, how they view life, how they, in what they invest their time, energy, and effort into. And they'll have people who want to move forward with them in that way. It's just that they're going to, some of the more high vibrational people in their life will probably distance themselves from them. Some of those people could have been being loving and encouraging people in their life. They're like over here and they're saying, come on, you know, let's all move forward together. Let's, work through some fears and insecurities, be more independent, learn to love yourself, maybe get, you know, kind of from a Six of Pentacles to a Knight of Pentacles would be kind of growing and maturing yourself. But eventually you can't keep, you can play that role in people's life, but you just have to accept if people are an adult, they have the right to live their life. And, sometimes people can be in the shadowy energy and they're like middle aged and their friends and family members are still trying to kind of get them to kind of grow up and mature themselves. They might have a lot of things that just manipulate them. Their own ego can manipulate them, other people in their life can manipulate them. And again, if they haven't learned to love themselves, they could be looking to other people in the world to kind of validate their worth and value. But some of the people who they might hold in high regard for some reason or another, if those people aren't in relationship with them, it can keep really bothering them. Like, well, why don't those people view me that way? And why don't those people want to be my friend? It's like, let it go and go work with the people in your life who do. But, the more someone has either in their ego, because that person could kind of remind them maybe of a mother wound. And if they're not willing to do the work within themselves to deal with the truth of that, they will be drawn and attracted to getting in relationships with people who can remind them of someone, has some similar traits and characteristics of someone that they wish had been more just and fair, and that person wasn't more loving or encouraging or supportive. And then they'll, because that's one way to solve the problem. You keep getting in relationships with people like that until you finally see the truth, and I am done with it. And some people haven't healed from that wound, and they maybe haven't been in relationships with some people who are like that enough to work through it. And so it always causes a mental conflict. Like, why don't, it can't even be, why don't people think like I think? Some of them it's wounding, some of them it's money. Some kind of more shadowy people have loving, nurturing people they can move forward with, but that's not really their truth. And they could have friends and family members, no, you should move forward with this person. And they're like, that really isn't my truth. And there is someone else I would like to be in a relationship with where it is more maybe being about the ego and the image. And they have the free will to live their life that way. And if that's what they think is going to make them happy, they want to be in a relationship with other people who are like that. But just some of the people who might be like that don't want to be in a relationship with them. And then it's like, damn. So sometimes shadowy people end up getting in relationships with more balanced, loving people, which could seem like a dream come true, and other people can't understand why they don't want to be in a relationship with them. It's because that's not really my truth. I am more about the ego and the image and maybe being the center of attention, and I want to be in a relationship with other people who are like that. And then high vibe people can end up getting in relationships with people who are more about the world. Eventually, hopefully, as time goes by, I think part of the reason we're drawn and attracted to people who are different than us is it because part of it is to help us kind of all get more clear really about what our truth is and our truth isn't. Are we willing to stand up for our truth? Are we not? Are we going to stay in more mismatched relationships? Are we not? And then hopefully eventually we get in relationships with people who are more on the same page as us. It's like, It's kind of like mismatched puzzle pieces trying to fit together, and the universe kind of shaking up the board. This is mismatched. You don't find this emotionally fulfilling. They don't find it emotionally fulfilling. You're both maybe fearful of leaving and being more independent to believe in yourself and believe in your dreams. But I think the people who take action in truth and love, no matter what, they're going to be okay. The people who still haven't healed or learned to love themselves, they're going to be the ones who are still in some more of these shadowy energies, still trying to find the answer. The high vibe people have realized love is the answer. And regardless of who's in their life or who isn't, they're at peace within themselves. And the other people keep not being at peace, keep looking for the answer, but they could keep looking for the answer in the wrong things. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.